peace agreement with Israel primarily, chiefly, and it will be a 7-year agreement. He will be hailed as the hero because really, truly, heretofore, no one has been able to bring peace in the Middle East. All have failed, and all who continue to try will fail as well. There is only one, we're told in the Bible, who will succeed at this pseudo-peace, and that man will be what we know as the Antichrist, against Christ and in place of Christ. We're told in Daniel 9:27 that the Antichrist will then be worshipped. He will allow the Jews to rebuild the temple. Then, at the 3.5-year mark, he will set himself up in the temple as God, demanding to be worshipped. The Jews at this point will realize when he commits an abomination that causes desolation, defiling the temple, that this is indeed not their Messiah. This is the false Messiah. And it could be and should be the catalyst that brings the multitude of the Jews to a saving knowledge of their true Messiah, Jesus the Christ. Now, how does this tie in, and why is this key in our understanding of Ahmadinejad's re-election and its fitting into this Bible prophecy? Well, Ahmadinejad believes that he's the one who's been commissioned, called, put here on earth to usher in the Muslim Mahdi, or Messiah. Now, it's interesting that this coming 12th Imam, who will be this Savior, if you will come and rule for 7 years. In the religious writings of Islam, they believe this coming Mahdi, this Messiah, will come and he will rule and he will reign for 7 years. And Ahmadinejad believes he's the one who, as a, forerunner in the likes of perhaps a John the Baptist, is the forerunner for this Muslim Messiah to enter the scene and finally bring about a solution to the problem of Israel. And we know that Israel is not the problem. As we talk about later in a future study and prophecy update, we'll see very clearly how it is that Netanyahu is even now being pressured from the international community and especially from the United States. He's actually being blackmailed, I guess you might say, by our Secretary of State, who's saying, you don't even think about getting any help from us with Iran if you don't stop the settlements and agree to a Palestinian state. Here's the flawed thinking in any of that and in all of that. Understand that one Ehud Barak, who was then Prime Minister of Israel, gave Yasser Arafat anything he wanted. Basically an open check. You can have Jerusalem. We'll have 2 states. You can have the West Bank. You can have Gaza. You can have all of it. Why didn't Arafat take it? Because Arafat does not want a Palestinian state living side by side in, quote, peace and security with Israel. No, they want Israel wiped off the map. Kind of getting ahead of myself, but that's the cry from the Islamic world. They want the total annihilation, extermination, and elimination of Israel. The second reason is Ezekiel 38 and 39, which tells us of this Islamic alliance of nations who will launch a nuclear attack against Israel. Now, it's clearly understood that Ahmadinejad has nuclear ambitions for Iran. It's as clear as his chummy relationship with Putin's new Russia. Oh, I know that Putin is no longer president, but yes, he is. Make no mistake about it. Nobody makes a move without his fingerprints on it and his signing off on it. He is in control of this nation, and him, Putin, and Ahmadinejad have a very chummy relationship. Iran and Russia, a mutual defense treaty. So again, we're bringing together these certain components, these elements that form this perfect storm. And the third one is Psalm 83. Perhaps one of the more compelling reasons why I believe Ahmadinejad's re-election is very key in our understanding of Bible prophecy and its fulfillment. What does Psalm 83 have to say? Well, it's a very interesting psalm. It's a prophetic psalm. It tells us that they will say in the last day, "Come and let us wipe them out as a nation, that the name of Israel be remembered no more." Well, how does this tie into Ahmadinejad? Pictured here at the World Without Zionism. I don't know if you can see the graphic very well, but dangling from planet Earth is a smaller ball that has the Star of David, symbolizing the nation of Israel being removed from the planet. Yeah. I think God might have something to say about that. But be that as it may, Ahmadinejad has virtually quoted this prophecy verbatim in his declaration to wipe Israel off the map. I believe he doesn't sleep well at night until his goal is accomplished. He won't accomplish his goal. It won't happen. God is very clear, very explicit when he declares that anyone who comes against my people, I will destroy them. Genesis 12, you curse Israel, a curse will come upon you. You bless Israel, a blessing will come upon you. These nations that ally together and attack Israel, God's going to wipe them out. No nation will be standing with them. I find it interesting that the United States is quickly removing what little support we had left of Israel and now turned it to a threat against Israel. But I see that as, again, by God's design, because absent the United States to come alongside Israel and support them as they swim in an ocean of enemies, they'll have to turn to God. And they do turn to God. And this is perhaps what brings them to the Lord, is that they are standing alone, and God will deliver them miraculously as he has in the past. And it's interesting that the scriptures tell us that all of the nations will know that he is God. Because there's no way this little, tiny, small, minuscule nation we call Israel could stand against the armies of the nations of the entire world. Only God can do it, as he did in the Old Testament. He's the same God yesterday, today, and forever. I love the accounts, especially of the likes of Gideon, who's up against, over 100,000 Midianites, and he's only got 300, Israelites, and for all intents and purposes, they're probably lame, blind, and crippled. And I know that's not politically correct, so don't email me. But they were, because they were the ones who couldn't bend down and stick their face in the water at the springs, and that's the ones that God wanted Gideon to take. The other ones, he said, send them home. Because when I deliver the Midianites into your hand, Gideon, there's no way you guys could possibly take the credit for it. I will alone receive all of the glory for miraculously delivering you from the hands of the Midianites. And I see similar odds. I see the millions, even the billions of Muslims in the world compared to maybe 6, 7, 8 million Jews living in Israel. It's a Gideon thing all over again. It's Gideon revisited. So I love it when God says in his word, stand still, or stand back, or be still and behold the salvation of the Lord. Psalm 46:10, one of my life verses. Be still and know that I am God. I like to add to that. That's not blasphemy. It's in the JDV. Be still and know that I am God, and I'm going to prove it. Watch me now. So we're watching. And right before our very eyes, Bible prophecy is being fulfilled. So what's the point? Well, I believe the point is what Jesus said the point is. In Luke 21:28, it's recorded. He said, when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. Again, when we see prophecies that will find their fulfillment during the 7-year tribulation coming to pass already, now, beginning to come to pass, and the rapture comes before the 7-year tribulation, well then, how close is our redemption?